Obviously a very dry track as the red light goes on, drivers revving their engines, waiting for that green that sends them off for 15 laps. Away, Westwood gets wheel spin, Irvine gets the best traction, someone squeezes through up against the wall, Jose Cordova. There's a poor sign, there's a shunt in the background there, a spinner amazingly everywhere. It's Ellen Law, in fact, the young 22-year-old German champion. Sadly had a bit of a bump in the middle of the pack, but out front, clean away is Eddie Irvine, leading from Julian Westwood and Alain Menu. Streaming along bottom straight now, then Irvine ahead of Westwood, Menu and Cordova. A tremendous start from Jose Cordova, the Brazilian who won his heat but then was penalised 10 seconds. Obviously Westwood's car maybe not handling quite as he would like it to. Irvine making the most of this and disappearing out into the distance as Alain Menu looks for a way past Julian Westwood. Obviously a very quick repair of that car. It probably won't handle perfectly. Menu now looking for the outside up to paddock. He doesn't want Irvine to get away too far. Menu is through. Westwood's now down to third. Jose Cordova fourth, and fifth Pedro Chavez. Sixth Ringo Hines. Seventh Adrian Cottrell. So Menu now begins his chase of Eddie Irvine. Westwood drops back, not to Jose Cordova as I thought, but his Brazilian countryman Nico Palhares, another blue Van Diemen runner. So it's Palhares in fact in fourth, there fifth Chavez, sixth Ringo Hine, and seventh Adrian Cottrell. There in eighth Vivian Daly, there is Cordova, in fact ninth place. So Irvine well clear. Menu begins his chase. Westwood clear at the moment as Chavez and Palhares dice hard for fourth place. There Palhares looking inside, but Chavez moving forward. Pedro Chavez hasn't had that good a season results-wise in Britain. We see Palhares running a bit wide, but certainly this Formula Ford Festival he's been moving forward with every race we've seen him in, and is having an excellent festival. But Eddie Irvine, the British champion, just stomping away in this semi-final. Now here's Chavez moving forward as we've seen him all weekend, now looking to take that third place off Julian Westwood. Alain Menu is long gone and chasing Irvine, but Pedro Chavez, the 1986 Portuguese champion who, like so many, came to Britain this year to race. He's right in the slipstream of Westwood. He pulls to the outside up to paddock. He is going to try to take the long way around the outside, but Westwood pushes him up near the wall and says, "Not this time, thank you." So Chavez has to think of another move for young Westwood here, while Palhares has dropped back to defend his place from Adrian Cottrell. So Ringo Hine, and there's Cordova catching. So Palhares, Cottrell, Hine and Cordova, a string there in 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th. Irvine clear, then Menu. Westwood holding Chavez at the moment, and then this tremendous dice for 5th with Adrian Cottrell looking up the inside. Nice move there, Adrian. Adrian, one of the most promising of the young British drivers. Little racing this year, but he's been very quick when he's had the money to go racing, and he's going quicker and quicker now in these dry conditions. 4th place for Adrian Cottrell. Ringo Hine pushed down one in the background by Cordova, but Chavez this time tries the inside on Westwood. Westwood closes the door the other way. So Julian Westwood now getting the grips of his probably strangely handling car. It probably handles a bit differently, but he now seems quite happy with its handling. He's happy to defend that 3rd place, but there's the gaggle behind for 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th, with Adrian Cottrell at the moment holding sway. And they're off. We have a couple up at Druids, just getting themselves out of the car. A little bit one wheel missing, which is a bit of a shame there, but Craig Coleman, New Zealand driver. And another one off there. We have there Fran Riley, who'd shown so well in his quarter-final. Obviously, people beginning to throw a bit of caution to the wind now. 1st and 2nd welcome. Menu again, he seems to be able to stay with Irvine, but as in the heat and quarter-final, he's always been that bit too far back. There we see Cottrell running very wide and Cordova seeing the gap up the inside. Cottrell made a mistake going in. Cordova said, "Thank you very much," and through he goes. So Adrian Cottrell lost a place there, but Cordova, perhaps the quicker of the two at the moment, and in fact, if Adrian just follows Cordova forwards, they might get away from the pack behind. So Adrian could be wise to fold there. More off. That's 120 Nick Blom, who's slid into Fran Riley's car. But here is the real gaggle here. Cordova, Cottrell and Palhares, with Ringo Hine and Alan McNish, the young Scot, who had such a troubled heat. Alan McNish really doing a tremendous job from 16th on the grid. He's storming up in the semi-final, and hopefully if he doesn't make a mistake. Ringo Hine dives inside Palhares there, so Hine now comes up to challenge Cottrell, leaving Palhares to the mercy of Alan McNish. McNish, a 17-year-old Scot, tremendous karting form. Now he's trying to tee up Cordova at the back of this bunch, and I think McNish has got inside Cordova. He's trying to do Hine as well. In fact, he's done two in one manoeuvre. There we see young McNish, number 5. He's had a couple of spins in the heat, and he's always been coming from the back forward. And now the dry conditions again seem to be suiting this young Scot, and he's really flying. Tremendous to see this. So that's given a bit of a breather for Cottrell. Cottrell now has a bit of a gap on McNish. McNish now, his next target is young Adrian Cottrell. So a young Englishman against a Scot. But there, first and second, the Swiss menu second. Westwood still third, Chavez fourth, and Cordova forcing forward in fifth, chased hard by Cottrell. So Jose Cordova was penalised 10 seconds, having won his heat, was given a 10-second penalty for jumping the start. This dropped him right back in his quarter-final. He's been forging forwards ever since. And Cordova now looking very strong indeed as Chavez finally finds that gap, but Westwood just refuses to relinquish that tremendous driving. Third place, but that's allowed Cordova the opening, and Cordova's going to try and do it all in one, the tap of wheels, as the door was closed rather late by Chavez. But this is really now tremendous Formula Ford racing. People from the back who were probably quicker than they should be are trying to get forwards, but those out front, Irvine, the Swiss menu, of course, raced in the British Championship this year. He was third in the British Series, but this battle for third is really hotting up now. Julian West, but that's Cottrell. Cottrell will be livid with himself. Hopefully he hasn't stalled the engine. He's only lost 2 or 3 places, 4 places. But really a poor mistake by Adrian there, having done so well in this festival, which is so important to him. But Westwood now breathing spaces. Cordova has got Chavez, so Cordova moves to 4th, and Westwood has a new challenger for that 3rd place. This time Jose Cordova, the Brazilian who's shown so well. Chavez down a place. So, having lost Cottrell out of this bunch, a great shame that. It's left to Cordova to challenge Westwood. And the way he's been scything through the pack, I think he might be more successful than Chavez. He's looking all ways. Chavez now being shadowed by McNish. McNish looking for any opening he can get to get through. So there, slipstreaming now up towards Paddock Bend. They all pull out of the slipstream. It's Westwood side by side with Cordova. Chavez also trying to go on the outside, but Cordova's through. McNish is inside Chavez. Place changes all over the place, but only one actually completed, that by Cordova, who does seem to be very fast at the moment. He's now into 3rd. He's not going to get 2nd, but I do expect to see him pulling away from this gaggle. And the interest now really is to see if McNish can move forwards. Westwood obviously coping very well with a car that can't be handling perfectly, but Cordova through to 3rd, putting Westwood down to 4th, and Chavez now in intense pressure from McNish, who looks inside. A beautiful move there. Chavez just looked a little bit wide, braking for clearways. It's very tricky there. You need to brake across the road. McNish didn't need a second asking and was through. So McNish now head down, heading after Julian Westwood. Cordova easing away from Westwood, who's holding on grimly. Irvine well away. Manu following through. But Cordova now rather taking Westwood away from the pack with him. McNish pulling away from Chavez. So these 4 cars settling a bit at the moment. Whereas coming up well, there's Jonathan McGall in the background, chasing this pack ahead of Ringo Hine for about 8th and 9th places. So here is McGall and Hine having a good dice. McGall has come up very well indeed. He was back on the 9th row, about 17th on the grid, and must be up to about 8th now. But Ringo Hine wants that place back, and he's going to do everything he can, including oversteering nicely around Druids. And McGall actually chasing hard after Chavez. So McGall, Ringo Hine, and in the background Nico Palhares, who's dropped back quite a bit in this semi-final. So now McNish there closing a little bit, we see on Westwood, and this pair closing on all three up front. So Jonathan McGould driving a very strong race, taking Ringo High with him, but McNish now putting a bit of pressure on Chavez just ahead of his two. Here, in fact, side by side now, it's Westwood, I meant, not Chavez. He's already done Chavez. McNish now wants Julian Westwood's position, which is 4th in the semi-final. And McNish done a superb job. He was 16th, and now he's going for 4th place. So a wonderful recovery in this semi-final. Eddie Irvine, though, supreme out front. I haven't seen him put a foot wrong all weekend. Alain Menu, once he's got clear of his sort of pack, always seems to be able to shadow Irvine, but has never been with him. Cordova now clear in 3rd, and the battle here for 4th between Julian Westwood and McNish. But with the leader now starting the last lap, the young Alan McNish has only got this lap to displace Julian Westwood. He's in the slipstream now, coming up Cooper Straight. He'd been looking to the outside. Westwood holds the inside. McNish might try the long way round, but instead decides to tuck in tight and try and get inside up to Druids. But Westwood's countering every move. McNish has a look. Cordova in front, well clear now. This duo battling for 4th place. But Westwood seems to have got the measure of McNish. I can't see young Alan McNish getting through on this lap, especially now he's dropped back a little bit through Graham Hill Bend. And the front 5 or 6 going to be amazingly spaced out at the actual end result of this semi-final. Here, Eddie Irvine completes his 3rd win, a semi-final win for Eddie Irvine. Tremendous form, looking ominous as he gains his place. There, Alain Menu 2nd. 3rd, a very good drive by Cordova. 4th, Westwood. 5th, McNish, tremendous recovery. 6th, Chavez. And 7th, Jonathan McGould, another good drive. The result there then, Irvine, Menu, Cordova, Westwood, McNish and Chavez. So can David Coyne make a clean start to this semi-final to get away into paddock to lead and try and dominate this semi-final as Eddie Irvine, his main challenger for the festival, did? But no, Simoes has got the jump. Simoes closing down on Coyne at paddock, and now Dave Coyne's got a bit of a battle on his hands. The one's spinning wide, a clump into the tyre wall at paddock. That's Mark Poole, the Australian, who's done so well in this Formula Ford Festival. Sadly, he's going to be out now while the leaders joggle their way around Druids. Vivian Daly, the other man out in that incident. So Irishman and the Australian Mark Poole sadly out of the festival. Into 30s then, Simoes still holds sway over Dave Coyne. Coyne will be very keen to, as quickly as possible, ease away. He's got Thomas Mazzara breathing down his neck and the other Van Diemen. So Coyne now will look for an early break. Mazzara 3rd, Higgins 4th, another spinner there, Jean-Luc Pallis, the Frenchman who we'd seen earlier going so well. Coyne now goes through, or doesn't. He had a look, and Simoes saw him shut the door down. So really a tremendous fight now. The longer Simoes holds Coyne, the risk of Carl Fram coming through well in 4th, the Belgian there, taking junior champion Higgins. Higgins demoted to 5th. Coyne now pressuring Simoes. Mazzara dropping back a bit, then Fram and Higgins. Shadowing every inch of the way. Simoes already being defensive, already taking that inside line into clearways, but Coyne still tries to come up. Simoes there, the classic problem of taking the inside line into clearways means it pushes you out wide on the exit, and Coyne was half up the inside before Simoes closed him down. Mazzara watching brief. Higgins now having a go back to take the place back off Fram for 4th place, and indeed he does, but as a clash of wheels, Fram dispatched very heavily into the tyre wall. He's all right. Coyne gone round the outside of Simoes now. He missed all this action, happening all over the place. Mazzara 3rd. Coyne obviously decided enough was enough, went round the outside of Simoes. And that's a great shame, though, for Derek Higgins, our junior champion. He was inside Carl Fram. Fram, another very strong, charging driver. And sadly, that's 2 of the hardest charges lost from the Formula Ford Festival. Here again, then dicing for 4th place at the start of the 3rd lap, the green car, Carl Fram. Sadly, it's the end of 2 of the best charges in the festival. Derek Higgins, our junior champion, dives up the inside of Carl Fram. He's got inside as they come into shot now, but he slides slightly wide, clips Fram's wheels. Fram sent into the air and then scurrying headlong into the tyre walls, and just see how well that stops the car. No injury to him, but at the end of the festival. Coyne in Mazzara Simoes. The man to watch, perhaps Sven Hansen, very quick indeed, and perhaps slowly catching this front pack. He's, as I've said, been charging up through after a problematical heat, but he is the European champion, a Danish driver. He's had a lot of experience in Formula Ford, and certainly he's definitely catching Simoes at the moment. Bernard Dolan, the Irish champion, also not being left behind. Mazzara shadowing Coyne. Coyne not getting away in the same manner as Irvine did in his semi-final, so David Coyne got a challenge on his hands from Thomas Mazzara. The Czech-born driver, he was a refugee that went to Australia. Now he's working his way up the racing ladder coming to Britain. Hansen actually being challenged by Richard Dean. Dean having a tremendous drive in the semi-final. These three steady up front, but Hansen, who's closing fourth, and there, young Richard Dean, a tremendous drive in fifth. Now he's got past Dolan, and he's challenging Hansen. The leaders, safe and steady out front. Coyne holding sway. Hansen now no longer catching Simoes, now looking in his mirrors at young Richard Dean, who's charging forward in his Swift chassis. So Dean begins to have a look. Definitely now Hansen more looking in his mirrors, and Dean in one manoeuvre comes up and says thank you very much. I've never seen such an easily given place in Formula Ford racing for a long time. Hansen maybe caught napping slightly there, and Richard Dean just was straight through that gap. Now he's going to do his best to get his head down, move away from Hansen. He's got a long way to go to catch Simoes, especially the pace those front four are running at, and he's going to try and keep away from Hansen now. So here we are, 6 laps, halfway through almost of this semi-final. Coyne still holding sway, Mazzara not letting him get away, and Simoes settling well in third. Mazzara almost close enough to think about an overtaking manoeuvre on Coyne up at paddock corner now, and in fact Coyne goes out wide but then comes down, shuts the door. Certainly Mazzara knows that Coyne will have an eye on each mirror, will know all the tricks in the book, and he's going to be a very difficult man to get by, and he's now got Simoes having ambitions of that second place. So having settled in a pattern while they got away from the rest of the field for a while, they're now all beginning to have a bit of a go at getting places back. Simoes indeed intent on Mazzara's gearbox, and these three now well clear of Richard Dean and Sven Hansen battling away for fourth. All there, a bit of a mistake from Coyne, wide into Surtees, got onto the greasy line, had to cut across, defend his line into clearways, but again experienced enabled David Coyne to regain his composure very rapidly from that error. But Mazzara very close now, slipstreaming down the top straight. He eases out of the slipstream, Simoes pulls in behind, and always the risk here, Simoes has taken the inside line, and that is always the problem. You slipstream to the left of the leader, and the man who is in third position dives up the inside into the slot you were in. So Mazzara, trying to take the lead, loses his second place to Antonio Simoes. These three regular British Championship contenders, they know each other's moves, very experienced men who all want a good grid position to challenge Eddie Irvine's dominance. Coyne there, going a bit wide, tempting Simoes, but not enough to let a gap through. Slipstream, Simoes this time it is snaps to the outside, and he's really having a go around the outside. Mazzara not close enough to do it, but Simoes there has got the classic line inside to do his Coyne closing, but really Dave realised there wasn't room, he couldn't close the door that time, and Simoes is through. So having been pushed down the order from first to third, Simoes now redresses the situation, and 9 laps finished, 6 to go, he's back in the lead again. So, slipstream again, top straight. This is a tremendous dice from these experienced runners. No inch given, none asked for. Coyne looks to the inside, it wasn't there. Simoes counters well. Mazzara a watching brief. But these three again, now Simoes has gone a bit wide. Coyne looks to the inside, Coyne looks to the outside, but he can't try too much of an outside line because he knows Mazzara's there. So now this is real classic Formula Ford racing from three experienced men, none of them wild men. They're all experienced hard runners, and Simoes determined to get the front row for the final. This is what they're racing over, not so much the victory in the semi-final. A yellow flag, nobody can overtake now. There's been an incident. So Simoes safe for one corner. Nail-biting stuff. Simoes comes along to finish lap 11. Coyne and Mazzara watching over his shoulder. Any mistake can lose both second and third will be through. Highly talented. Coyne there, leaving his braking very late, getting very sideways, dropped a little bit back. He had a sort of look up the inside of Simoes, even though it wasn't on. And these three still pulling away. Richard Dean safe in fourth, dropping back slightly, but safe in fourth with some gap ahead of Sven Hansen in fifth. Dolan and then Andrew Guy Johnson sixth and seventh. But really these three in a class of their own in this semi-final. All three of them will hopefully be challenging Eddie Irvine in the final. And at the moment it's really who's going to be on that front row for the final. Completing 12 laps, 3 to go. Simoes holds sway. This time there, David Coyne moves to the left. He tries to make Simoes leave that inside line just for an instant to try to create a gap on the inside, but Simoes knows better than that. Now always here, every time Simoes takes the inside for Druids, Coyne's got the problem that either he tries to go around the outside, which is how he actually took the lead on the second or third lap, but Dave knows that he tries that manoeuvre, it fails, Mazzara will be up the inside and Coyne will be back to third. So there's always the problem when you're in the middle of the sandwich of knowing how brave a manoeuvre to take the lead and not risk losing that second place. Simoes now defending heavily, taking the inside into clearways. Coyne right in the gearbox, hard on the power. Mazzara likewise. And now Mazzara's almost got an inside edge on Coyne. They're gearbox to gearbox. Thinking man's Formula Ford racing this. Simoes hugs the inside line. Coyne tries to make him move out, but Simoes is not going to leave that defensive line, but he makes the mistake they were waiting for. Coyne lunges up the inside, but Simoes very quickly shuts the door. Mazzara thought he saw a chance, and he's just trying. Coyne will leave his nose cone in Simoes' gearbox to try and not let Mazzara in, but he's going to do it. Round the outside, tremendous stuff. Simoes made a mistake at paddock. Coyne got half up the inside, but Simoes shut the door firmly in his face, and Mazzara drove round the outside of Coyne. So Coyne now, who looked like the man to beat Irvine, and has a look up the inside, a tremendous manoeuvre there. That really was opportune stuff from Coyne. Coyne realising there's only a couple of laps left in order to get the lead, to get the front row with Irvine, and in a very, very narrowest of gap, took Mazzara on the inside. Mazzara's hanging on, but I feel Coyne's going to get into paddock first, and he does. So Coyne now probably livid that he didn't get Simoes on the previous lap when Simoes made the mistake. He's only got a lap in order to get back, but I can't see Simoes getting removed from this position now. But certainly some great overtaking there by Coyne. He's in the slipstream of Simoes. I can't see him being able to repeat the manoeuvre he pulled on Mazzara because Simoes has been very defensive, but here is where Coyne did it. He's going to try and snap the inside, but Simoes very defensive on the inside. No chance at all. Simoes slow around the corner itself. Coyne goes wide. Mazzara comes up the inside. But it's going to be Simoes, Coyne and Mazzara. A very tactical and exciting semi-final, but that's the finishing order. A fair back, a good fourth for Richard Dean, fifth Sven Hansen, and sixth Bernard Dolan, seventh Andrew Guy Johnson. A good drive up through the field from him. The dashboard of poleman Eddie Irvine's Van Diemen, the red line set at 6,800 RPM on his rev counter, the most important gauge to a racing driver. A thoughtful Antonio Simoes sharing the front row of the grid with Eddie Irvine, and the Portuguese driver looking for a good result to end the season. The eyes of Alain Menu in the mirror of his Reynard Formula Ford chassis. The two cars ahead of him on the front row, both Van Diemen's, and Alain Menu would want them in his mirrors as soon as possible. David Coyne there settling down into the Swift chassis, the third make of car on the front two rows of the grid, and he also will be keen to prove the Swift is the best chassis. He's the best driver. He'll want to be winning the Formula Ford Festival. The final of the first edition Formula Ford Festival, and the front 4 rows of the grid dominated by the British Championship runners. British champion from Northern Ireland, Eddie Irvine, on pole position. Alongside him, Portuguese driver Antonio Somoza, 4th in this year's British Series. Inside of the second row, 3rd British runner, Alain Menu from Switzerland. Beside him, David Coyne. The 3rd row, Jose Cordova from Brazil, sharing that with Thomas Mazzara from Australia. The red light on, 20 laps, a dry track, waiting for the green light. Eddie Irvine will be keen to make most of his pole position, but Somoza is matching him off the grid at the moment. Wheel to wheel, but Irvine looks like he's got it. Coyne is pushing Menu for 3rd, but Somoza has 2nd, Coyne 3rd, Menu 4th, 5th place Mazzara. Now Irvine will be keen to make the most of the break. Coyne will want to get Somoza before he gets away, and this is what I think Coyne feared the most, having not won his semi-final. He's got Somoza between him and Irvine, and this could be the festival virtually won for Eddie Irvine if he makes the most of this first lap break. Irvine through. Coyne tried a lunge at Somoza at Druids, but he couldn't get through, and Somoza now is probably going to hold them back. Irvine, a clean pair of heels to the rest of the pack, but Coyne will be making the most to get by at paddock on this lap. He cannot afford too many laps behind Somoza, while Irvine has a clear track ahead of him. Coyne then looks for the inside, a beautiful move. Somoza caught unawares. Coyne slides wide. Alain Menu comes up the inside now. Coyne will be livid with himself. He's lost 2-3 places. He'll be fuming, and it's Alain Menu in the Renard that comes through into 2nd place now. Coyne rubbing wheels with Mazzara in 3rd. All the time, Irvine's going away. Menu it was who shadowed Irvine in the quarterfinal and the semi-final, and now he's got through. Coyne beautifully outbraked Somoza for paddock, but he was just going too quick, slid wide, and now he's going to be cursing his luck. Irvine away all the time, edging away, while Coyne now must battle hard for 2nd place. Again now, trying to tee up, this time a different man ahead of him. This time it's Alain Menu, the Swiss driver. He will have seen Coyne go inside Somoza. He will be making sure he doesn't make the same mistake, but again the door is left open, and Coyne again does the same manoeuvre. Tremendous late braking by Coyne, catching these other experienced drivers. This time he didn't slide so wide. He's made it through. He's in 2nd place, but is the damage already done? Can he close down that lead that Eddie Irvine already has? 2 to 3 seconds, maybe it is, maybe less. We'll now see what Coyne can do. 3rd now is Menu, 4th Mazzara, 5th Somoza, 6th Cordova, 7th Richard Dean, and 8th the Scot Alan McNish. Coyne there trying everything, using every bit of track and more, and maybe a little bit too keen. He could have cost himself some time there. Now he's got Menu back inside him, and really Coyne is trying too hard to make his amends, and he's going to be cursing himself for the 2nd time in this Formula Ford final. This time Menu is not going to leave such a wide gap, and Coyne's one opening has been lost. And here, straight away, of course, now we're into the defensive tactics. Menu is going to hold the inside line. Coyne is trying to shade him around the outside, but Menu's too experienced to let that trick pay off. Van Diemen leading Reynard, leading Swift. The 3 different makes of chassis, the first 3 places. British champion leads the Swiss driver Alain Menu, who has nevertheless been over here racing the British Series, and in 3rd place David Coyne, the Swift chassis. A huge lead really by Formula Ford standards. Eddie Irvine powering away from the pack. In the background, Somoza looking to take 4th off Mazzara, and through he goes. Portuguese driver Somoza, who was pushed back by Coyne, is now back into 4th place. 5th Mazzara, 6th. A battle waging there between Cordova and Richard Dean and Alan McNish. 3 blue cars, Cordova, Dean and McNish, all fighting hard. Mazzara now pushed down a place by Somoza. These 2 dropping away slightly from the battle from 2nd between Menu and David Coyne. Slithering and sliding through. Cordova moving up towards Mazzara's gearbox now. He's been coming from behind all the way through this weekend, and he'll be now there. Off we have 85 Mark Woodwiss. He's knocked a front wheel off the car. Doesn't look too much damage. He'll soon be out. I think he's moving slowly more through the disappointment of crashing out, and hasn't it? But Coyne now again trying this outside line. He can't really do it with Menu, but he has to try something. He has to try and get through. as he sees Irvine slipping away. Already 5 laps completed, 15 to go. Coyne must know that he's quicker than Menu if he can get past him. The yellow flag's been waved. It won't affect them too much. They have to slow a little bit when the flag is being waved to be cautious. And there's no car on the track or anything like that. But Coyne now teed up to try and get past Swiss driver Alain Menu. But Menu has seen Coyne slice past Simoes. He's had Coyne slice past him into paddock. And I can't see him leaving a gap again, but he's letting Coyne try the long outside. Coyne now trying to tee Menu up for Druids, but Menu again holding the inside line. All the time Menu driving this defensive line. Irvine goes further and further away. Simoes sliding very wide in his efforts to try and catch up again with Coyne. A wild move there. Well, Mazzara, who we'd hoped might have been more up front, is beginning to fall back into the clutches of Jose Cordova. So a dice beginning to liven up for 5th place. But Simoes can't catch the fight for 2nd. Irvine well clear. Menu not being challenged so much by Coyne at the moment. 4th Simoes, but here 5th place Cordova trying to take that 5th place off Mazzara, trying to go around the outside at Paddock Hill corner, but it didn't come off quite that time. They'll be charging up to Druids there, but Zara, in fact, Cordova under pressure now from Richard Dean. Dean has got his front wheels inside, but Nish looking for any mistake by the 2 in front of him, and really the dice at the moment here for 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th. There, Jose Cordova. Cordova. Dean in a Swift chassis there in the middle of the pack there. Richard Dean had a good festival. Same chassis as David Coyne has got, who's running in 3rd place now. Still unable to answer Menu. Menu maybe is holding the gap now. Now he's not being so defensive, but the damage is possibly already done, and Irvine well ahead. Dean wants to get by Cordova. Cordova wants to get by Mazzara. But at the moment they're all on the neat racing line, the ideal line. They're all trying to close the gaps. Coyne now through Graham Hill Bend, still that tantalising 2 car lengths behind Manu. Through Surtees. Coyne now, this is where he needs to be right into Alain Manu's Reynard gearbox, but he's not close enough this time for the slipstream. In the meantime, Irvine perhaps not getting away anymore. If anything, they seem to be certainly holding that gap. But then, obviously, Irvine doesn't need to try that hard. As you can see, he's got a gap of a second or 2. That'll do for the moment. Nearly halfway through the Formula Ford Festival. And Manu again now beginning to take the inside line to defend from the lunges of Dave Coyne's Trenair Swift chassis. Alain Manu actually very quick through Surtees there. He pulled away a little bit from Coyne, and that's where Coyne's problem appears to be, because he needs to be much closer into clearways there before they come onto the straight in order to try and slipstream past to get 2nd place. But Manu does seem to be very slowly closing that gap down. If he can stop looking in his mirrors and stop needing to defend his place from Coyne, then he could well begin to close in. The battle still waging. Mazzara now breathing space, but Cordova, in fact McNish has displaced Dean, so it's the 17-year-old Scots boy who's come forward to attack the Brazilian Jose Cordova. McNish has slipped past Dean, and he's now trying to get past Cordova. In the background, Julian Westwood, who had that shunt, he's come through very well. He's now latched onto the back of Dean, so kind of a battle here for 8th place. Mazzara, Cordova, McNish, Dean, and coming into the picture, Julian Westwood. So, still the battle rages. Everybody trying the positions to move up. A 2-second lead for Irvine, still out front, still safe. Manu pulling away from Coyne clear from Somos. These first four now very spaced out for Formula Ford standards. And it's really the battle for fifth from Mazzara, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th, all nose to tail here. Over half distance down this 20-lap first edition World Cup Festival. This time, Jose Cordova really in the slipstream. Really looking to get past Mazzara. He got the perfect toe, but as usual, he's given the outside choice only. He'll try and transfer the outside choice into the inside, but meanwhile, McNish had a look up the inside. McNish saw what Cordova was doing, and only 17 years old, but he knows how to make an overtaking manoeuvre. And seeing the move that Cordova was trying to pull, McNish was quick to pounce, and really is a very talented young driver, a kartist, moving up into single-seater racing, first car racing for his first season, and really a Scot with a great future in motorsport predicted by most people. But for the moment, he'll just want to, fourth position would be very impressive for him, and that's what he's got his sights set on. Thomas Mazzara holding that position. Cordova looks to the outside, looks to the inside. Mazzara's not having any of that. McNish again holds back and tries to get the run at them out of paddock. And there again he's diving up the inside, but Cordova matches that move. So each time McNish holding back at paddock, he sees Cordova and Mazzara shuffling themselves to the inside and tries to get a run through paddock to get up the inside at Druids. Manu perhaps an inch nearer Irvine. All four seem to be inching forward. Maybe it's wishful thinking, but 7 laps to go and Irvine's still doing well out front. Of course, not only chassis that are at stake and honoured here, it's the engine tuners, these 1600cc standard Ford engines, very evenly matched, but they are tuned by different tuners. And here Cordova again, the outside down. This time he's done it. Very good. He closed Mazzara down, but or has he? There we go. McNish is going to make the most of this. He's going to have a place, thank you very much. And again, Cordova tried to go around the outside. Mazzara braked when he thought was the last possible point, and it obviously was the last possible point, because Cordova braked too late, ran wide, and lost not only the position he'd just taken, but here Irvine lapping young Justin Bell there. Justin Bell, we saw, has done very well to get into the Formula Ford final, but he had some engine troubles on the grid, the son of World Sports Car champion Derek Bell. But here this battle rages. Mazzara, a little bit of breathing space over Alan McNish. Now, what will McNish try on Mazzara? He's got Cordova bringing it down his neck. He looks to the inside, but Mazzara again hugs that inside line. Cordova now is doing the McNish trick of trying to get them both if any mistakes are made. And McNish trying the outside line, and Cordova going even more outside. A touch of wheels and tremendous driving by Alan McNish. That, for a 17-year-old, is sheer bravery, forceful driving, but clean forceful driving. He went up on the outside and just closed Mazzara down, and that really was some impressive overtaking. So McNish now is through to that 5th place, but there's a long gap to the big four, as it were, up ahead, and he'll be doing his most just to merely make a gap. Alain Manu has definitely closed on Irvine, but really there's very little time for him to actually catch and overtake, with a battle for 5th that still rages. Cordova now determined to get the place back, tries an outside-inside manoeuvre, doesn't quite come off. McNish quick through paddock, quick to take the inside up to Druids, and Cordova now having his hands full of very close Thomas Mazzara. Richard Dean still in the picture there, and Julian Westwood in his repaired chassis, still pretty, maybe just as quick as it could have been, and he's tacking in on the back of that bunch. Still some very impressive drives by young British drivers in this Formula Ford Festival this year, and certainly we'll see people like McNish and Dean and Westwood coming forward in the future years. But at the moment, the men that are definitely going forward are Eddie Irvine, Alain Menu and David Coyne. But this battle for 5th is keeping our attention at the moment. They storm past the pits, line abreast, slipstreaming, neither wanting to give space. If you go to the outside, you might lose the place behind you. And everybody looking for an inch through. Tremendous Formula Ford dicing. McNish again holding the inside line. Cordova not wishing to try the outside line for fear of losing the place to Mazzara. And meanwhile, Dean just drives around the outside of Mazzara. Lovely stuff. Irvine showing signs of getting a little bit ragged there. Manu second, third Coyne, but still this 5th place dice goes on and on. McNish still leading. Only 2 laps left for McNish to finish a very impressive 5th. Number 5 on the car, perhaps that's where he's destined to be, but Cordova's got other ideas, as has Richard Dean. Mazzara now dropping back. Cordova now has a tremendous burst out the outside. There was no way. And a similar manoeuvre that he did with Mazzara. Again, the guy on the inside, this time McNish said, well, this is as late as you can possibly break for paddock. And Cordova went flying past on the outside and out onto the old circuit and has lost another place, as he did when he tried the same manoeuvre on Mazzara. So Dean now up to 6th. Cordova 7th, and I see Westwood through to a good 8th, having got past Mazzara. I don't know, Thomas having troubles and dropping to the back of this pack. So McNish now has breathing space as he starts up to his last lap. Irvine there, going through his Scholar engine, looking likely to beat the Minister-powered Alain Menu. The battle for 5th looks like going to be McNish's now, and really it's Richard Dean going to have a go at Cordova. Has had a go at Cordova, rather. Can he hold him off? 2 British drivers charging through, but Dean is closing in on McNish. McNish shouldn't be easing up too much yet. Out front, Irvine well on his way down bottom of the straight. Round paddock though, round Druids. McNish keeps that 5th position. Here is Eddie Irvine then, his Scholar Tune engine powering his Van Diemen. British champion, heat winner, quarter-final winner, semi-final winner, and really the end of a comprehensively amazingly successful year for Eddie Irvine, who hopes to go forward to Formula 3. There, the checkered flag, the winner of the 1st edition Formula Ford Festival, Eddie Irvine from Northern Ireland. 2nd, Alain Menu from Switzerland. 3rd, England's David Coyne. 4th, Portugal Simoes. 5th, an excellent 5th for young Alain Menu from Scotland. 6th, Richard Dean. 7th, Cordova. 8th, Julian Westwood. And 9th, Thomas Mazzara from Australia. Confirmation then of the results of the 1st edition Formula Ford Festival. In 6th place, Richard Dean. 5th, the young Scot Alain McNish. 4th, Antonio Simoes from Portugal. 3rd, the experienced David Coyne. 2nd place, the Swiss driver Alain Menu. But the British champion and winner of the 1st edition Formula Ford Festival, Eddie Irvine from Northern Ireland.